Memorial Day special. A World War II veteran tells us why it is so important to honor those troops who never made it home. In their own words, two Vietnam veterans share their experience and why they try to make sure other veterans receive the recognition they deserve. Catholic war veterans. The group's national commander suggests meaningful ways to celebrate Memorial Day. And ultimate sacrifice. Join us on a trip to Arlington National Cemetery, where we learn about the history of the holiday. On EWTN News Nightly for Monday, May 30th, 2022. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Tracy Sabol. We bring you an EWTN News Nightly Memorial Day special. In the next half hour, we want to share with you stories from veterans about the importance of the holiday. And later, we'll look back at some of our favorite reports from earlier this year. We begin tonight with a World War II veteran who knows all too well the importance of Memorial Day. 97-year-old Stanley Maybrook was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. He says that he was shot while fighting in the hedgerows, but survived. He told us about the significance of Memorial Day.
Well, it's important to memorize all the veterans, all the good things they did, and all the tough times they had. It's hard to express an opinion how much it's appreciation of what they did, the sacrifice everybody made. People just looking from the outside. It's too bad that everybody can't see it from the inside. It's not to be glorified. It's something remembered and not forgotten.
We caught up with Mr. Maybrook outside the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. He traveled with Honor Flight Columbus, which also paid tribute to veterans from other wars. Richard Rush and Oscar McClung, two Vietnam veterans, now belong to a motorcycle ministry. Listen as they describe the importance of Memorial Day in their own words.
It's very heartfelt, actually. The military is not being supported the way it should be. Ukraine's not being supported the way it should be. It's just, I'm sorry.
It's a cliche, but freedom is not free. It has to be earned and has to be protected. That's the main thing more than anything else. People don't realize nowadays. I know my children and grandchildren have no idea.
Yeah.
I hope they never have to learn. I hope they never have to go to war. I know when I came home from Vietnam,
Yeah.
we were treated like dirt.
Yeah.
And we made up our mind, Rick and I, that we wouldn't see anybody else treated the way we were treated.
Mm-hmm.
So Afghanistan, Desert Storm, those type of things, we went out of our way to make sure that they were honored and that, they got recognition for what took place.
What they've done.
And that's the same way with Memorial Day. That's what it's for more than anything else.
We're always praying for everyone. It doesn't matter race, color, creed, whatever. And it's just something that everybody should be doing right now, is praying for them.
If you know a veteran or anybody, they don't have to be a veteran of a foreign war or whatever, just a veteran in general, because they took an oath when they went in the military to defend this country. And that oath is still in effect. It was never revoked or taken back. So, honor the people that served this country.
The Catholic War Veterans of the USA also seeks to honor fallen military members. The group's national commander, David Crum, told us it's important to take time to honor those individuals that have served and given the ultimate sacrifice.
Literally millions of American citizens have fought for this country. And this is one day a year that we memorialize those individuals, both male and female, some of them giving the ultimate sacrifice to defend and build this country. Whether you host a parade or you go to the grave sites, place flags on the tombstones of those individuals, there are multiple ways in which you can celebrate this day.
The Catholic War Veterans of the USA was organized in 1935 and later included the first Catholic president, John F. Kennedy, as a member. We're told that they are the only Catholic organization to have a congressional charter. A historian says every day is Memorial Day at Arlington National Cemetery. It holds up to 30 burials a day and plans to continue for decades to come. We talked to the cemetery's historian, who happens to be Catholic. Tim Frank explained how Memorial Day got its start under a different name.
The first Decoration Day in 1868, thousands of people showed up to Arlington to decorate the graves with flowers. And every year we started seeing thousands more come to Arlington on Decoration Day. So much so that Arlington became the premier national cemetery. We actually have veterans from the American Revolution who were brought here from other cemeteries after we became a cemetery. We have soldiers and sailors, unknown soldiers and sailors from the War of 1812. We have unknown soldiers from the Civil War. So we really have service members from every single conflict in our history. And no doubt we'll have future conflicts where service members will continue to be buried here at Arlington. When you look around you, you're surrounded by thousands of headstones, and each headstone represents someone's story. The Chaplain's memorial is on Chaplain's Hill, and it contains the names of Catholic priests that gave their lives in the service of our nation. Also on Chaplain's Hill is Father Charles Waters, a Medal of Honor recipient who gave his life in Vietnam. And in nearby Section 3, we have Robert and Jerome McGovern, Medal of Honor and Silver Star recipients who went to St. John's College High School in Washington, D.C., a Catholic school. Even though I talk about a couple of quote-unquote notables, every single person in the cemetery is notable to someone. The story that I tell about faith is that I once took a general from the Middle East to Section 60, and I took him to the grave of a Muslim American soldier, and there was the Muslim emblem of belief on the headstone. And the general turned through the interpreter and he said, "What's that over there?" I said, "Well, that's a Buddhist emblem of belief." And he said, "What's that over there?" And I said, "Well, that's Latter-day Saints, and that's Methodist." And I started going through all of the emblems, and there was a Star of David maybe 20 feet away. And the general just surveyed the whole section and stood there for, it seemed like an eternity. And then through the interpreter, he said the general is very moved that all of these people fought for one common cause of freedom.
Tim Frank says Arlington National Cemetery is the final resting place for over 250,000 veterans. And he says school groups, civic groups, and foreign dignitaries lay wreaths on a daily basis at the tomb of the unknown soldier. So every day their service and sacrifice is not forgotten. The Merchant Mariners of World War II are also receiving recognition. The group was awarded a Congressional Gold Medal. Lawmakers just gathered this month for a ceremony to mark the occasion.
Oh, say, can you see?
We gathered to bestow Congress's highest honor, the Congressional Gold Medal, on the Merchant Mariners of World War II.
More than self, their country loved. For more than 9,500 perished for freedom.
And today to make it clear that without you, the success in World War II would not have happened.
American mariners fought and won perhaps the greatest logistics battle in human history as they enabled the Allied victory in World War II.
We are inspired by your courage and example, blessed by the democracy you helped to preserve, and honored to have the opportunity to be with you as the Congressional Gold Medal is presented to commemorate all that you and so many did for our nation.
It was the biggest, most difficult, and most dangerous transportation job ever undertaken. And we know how the Merchant Marine responded. Everything America asked them to do, they delivered.
I stand before you with humble tribute to my fallen brothers. We gave up our yesterdays for your and their tomorrows.
I'm honored to present the Congressional Gold Medal to the Merchant Mariners of World War II in recognition of their bravery and outstanding service.
Thank you for watching our Memorial Day special. In just a moment, we'll also review some of the top stories that we're following. Coming up, pro-life debate. Take a look back at how President Joe Biden responded to our questions about abortion. And Roe versus Wade. Our panel reviews the importance of the leaked Supreme Court opinion. Welcome back to our EWTN News Nightly Memorial Day special. I'm Tracy Sabol. We're also following some big developments in the pro-life movement. Earlier this year, we were able to ask President Joe Biden questions about abortion. It came the day after he doubled down on his defense of Roe versus Wade during his first State of the Union speech. White House correspondent Owen Jensen caught up with the president as he left the White House the next morning.
Pope Francis is asking for prayers and fasting today for the people of Ukraine on this Ash Wednesday. Pope Francis is asking for prayers and fasting. What's your reaction to that, sir?
He's right. I was with the Cardinal this morning. He came over to give me ashes, and we both prayed for that, for the people of Ukraine.
And last night you continued to support Roe v. Wade. As a Catholic, why do you support abortion as a Catholic? Define church teaching.
I tell you what, I don't want to get in a debate with you on theology, but you know, well, anyway.
Why support abortion?
I'm not going to make a judgment for other people.
It was just last night during his State of the Union address, President Joe Biden, a Catholic, reaffirmed his support for Roe v. Wade. From day one of his administration, the president has sought to codify Roe into law, and he's pushed back against measures like the Texas heartbeat law.
Advancing liberty and justice also requires protecting the rights of women. The constitutional right affirmed by Roe v. Wade, standing precedent for half a century, is under attack as never before. If you want to go forward, not backwards, we must protect access to health care, preserve a woman's right to choose, and continue to advance maternal health care for all Americans.
Pro-life groups reject President Biden's stance on abortion. Susan B. Anthony List earlier wrote, quote, once a supporter of policies that protect the lives of the unborn and their mothers, President Biden today caters to the most extreme voices within his party, throwing long-standing bipartisan consensus out the window to fulfill a campaign promise to the radical abortion lobby. The White House is also concerned about a leaked Supreme Court opinion that indicates that Roe versus Wade may be overturned. I earlier asked two top analysts to put the news in perspective. Joining us now is Charmaine Yost, conservative strategist and former president and CEO of Americans United for Life, and Sarah Parshall-Perry, senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Thank you both for being here. We appreciate it. Sarah, I want to start with you. As we just heard in Owen's report, President Biden is suggesting that the leaked Supreme Court opinion isn't just about abortion and that it could have a negative impact on people in other ways. I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
Sure. It doesn't surprise me that this is a public statement that he's making. It's ultimately fear-mongering and histrionics at their worst. And in fact, the draft opinion itself, written by Justice Alito, limited the holding of the case, the potential holding of the case, strictly to the abortion issue and would not impact any other rights emanating from the Constitution. In fact, specifically in Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court recognized that abortion was fundamentally different from other privacy rights, specifically because it involved the termination of a human life. Justice Alito echoed that opinion in the draft opinion, again, saying abortion is unique and unlike any other right because it involves termination of a human life. So not only is it unlikely, I would say that it's very much in keeping with what we're going to see in increasing numbers heading into the midterm season.
Charmaine, this question is for you. We know the opinion was circulated to members of the court back in February, and the decision was due to be announced sometime in June or July before the justices go on their summer break. That said, why do you think the leak happened this week, and what do you think of this timing?
Well, I think it's a naked attempt to influence the internal vote of the Supreme Court. Obviously, whoever leaked it is trying to mobilize opposition. They wanted to see the instantaneous demonstrations that were coincidentally came up immediately after the leak that were outside the Supreme Court. But, this may not cut exactly the way that they think it is. We had an immediate opportunity to kind of test their theory that it was going to help them in the midterms. But in actual fact, we had the primary votes in Ohio last night, and Republicans had record-breaking turnout while the Democrats did not. So, maybe that's a little too early to connect to this decision, but it was an opportunity to test this theory that this was going to mobilize people to vote. And I think that there's been many decades of the left relying on really skewed polling with very carefully calibrated questions that led them to believe their own press releases that overestimated how much the American people supported Roe and supported a very extremist abortion regime that, if this decision comes down, as this draft seems to indicate, will actually turn the decision-making on abortion back to the people at the state level.
Yeah, and if we've been hearing, Democrats are pushing for Roe to be codified. In fact, Chuck Schumer told our Eric Rosales that the Senate is going to be voting on it as soon as next week. So what exactly will that mean if the court does overturn Roe? Could that render a pro-abortion law passed by Congress to be unconstitutional? Sarah, can you break this down for us?
Yes, absolutely. It could indeed. And in fact, I don't know how one legislates on a right that the Supreme Court has already claimed does not exist in the Constitution. So the attempt to legislate at the federal level, something that is better left to the states, and which it looks like the Supreme Court is going to leave to the states, is not likely to pass constitutional muster. Beyond that, it is clear that the Democrats don't have the votes to overcome the filibuster, which they would absolutely need to do in order to get a piece of legislation like this passed. But what we're going to see in return is ultimately a state-level initiative to push bills that ultimately protect life. We've seen them in increasing numbers, and 26 states are most likely to outlaw or severely restrict abortion, which is precisely the way the 10th Amendment to the Constitution and our system of federalism ought to work.
And Charmaine, on Monday, 3 major abortion advocacy groups, including Planned Parenthood, announced that they'll be spending $150 million on the midterm elections to help, as they say, safeguard access to abortion. I'd like to get your reaction to that.
Well, of course they are, and they're really trying to gin up as much histrionics and hysteria over this potential decision as they possibly can. That's why you see the president making statements that are making kind of wild allegations about, throwing the kitchen sink in about how this could affect this, that, and the other thing. But again, I really do think they're overestimating the strength of their position. And you really have to kind of look at the fact that they don't currently have the votes in the Senate to push back, constitutional or not. They can't even get there right now. And why is that? Abortion has been on the ballot at the state level, in Congress, in the Senate, in the White House for decades now. And the truth of the matter is, despite the fact that they like to characterize Roe and the current abortion regime as quote unquote settled law, it is anything but settled, given the fact that the pro-life movement has continued to pass legislation at the state level to bring it to the court, and to bring it to this level indicates that the American people really do want to see a change. That's the beauty of our system, is that by working at the grassroots level and actually voting, you can bring about change.
And we have probably about 30 seconds left or so. But Charmaine, any final thoughts?
Well, I think that it's going to, we do still need to wait and see how it comes out, but it's going to be a really dramatic decision. And I really do think that the pro-life sentiment is going to prevail.
And Sarah, how about you?
Well, I would say we're going to see an increase in inflammatory rhetoric going into the midterms, which my guess is precisely the design behind this early leak. And we'll see calls for everything from court packing to judicial codes of ethics. But ultimately, I think, as Charmaine said, this is going to be a conversation for the states. And the people have already made abundantly clear that they are interested most in protecting a culture of life.
Okay, we're going to leave it right there. Thank you both so much for being here with us today. We appreciate it. Up next, Lost Bible. World War II veteran Stanley Maybrook shares how it was found again. And protecting the Pope. Take a look at the newest group of Swiss Guards. Welcome back to our EWTN News Nightly Memorial Day special. I'm Tracy Sabol. Well, earlier we introduced you to 97-year-old Stanley Maybrook. He survived a gunshot wound in World War II. He also shared another amazing story, how God stayed with him throughout the war.
God was with me. I had one of my Bibles with me throughout the whole thing. I lost it 5 times and it came back to me every time. One of the times it was in my Red Cross bag and got knocked off and fell in the Atlantic Ocean there. And luckily, 4 or 5 hours later, a fisherman found it and returned to me. It was one of the times. But it was lost when I got wounded. It came back to me, and several other times. So I know there is a God.
We thank Mr. Maybrook for his witness and his service. And now we want to introduce you to the newest batch of Swiss Guards who promise to protect the Pope. EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief Andreas Tannhauser shows us the swearing-in that takes place each year on May 6th for the world's smallest and oldest standing army.
New Swiss Guards make their oath on the date that marks the anniversary of the sack of Rome. On this day in 1527, 189 Swiss Guards defended Pope Clement VII against an army of German Landsknecht soldiers and Spanish mercenaries. 147 died in battle, including their commander Caspar Royst of Zurich. 42 guards were able to flee across the Passetto di Borgo, an elevated escape route, to Castel San Angelo. Pope Clement VII was forced to surrender shortly after, but his life and those of the 42 guards were spared from the carnage. The swearing-in ceremony concludes an ample schedule of celebrations that customarily begins the day before with Vespers and the deposition of a wreath of flowers to remember the guards killed in 1527. The next day, Mass is celebrated in St. Peter's Basilica in the morning. Then in the afternoon, the swearing-in of the new guards takes place. This year, 36 new recruits were sworn in at a smaller than usual ceremony, which included parents and siblings of the guards and official representatives of Switzerland and the Church. For this special occasion, the guards wore the so-called Grand Gala, a comprehensive uniform of armor also seen for the Urbi et Orbi papal blessing at Christmas and Easter. As tradition dictates, the oath is made with a hand on the Pontifical Swiss Guard Corps flag in the presence of the representative of the Pope, Archbishop Edgar Peña Parra. The guards promise to protect and defend the reigning Pope and all of his legitimate successors in moments of need, even to the point of death. Each does so by reciting the following phrase in one of the languages of the Swiss Federation. To become a member of the Corps, there are some strict requirements. One must be a Swiss citizen, a practicing Catholic, and be between 19 and 30 years old. The recruit must be single, at least 5 feet, 8.5 inches tall, be in good health, and have an impeccable reputation. At the same time, one must have passed the Army School for Recruits and be available for at least 26 months of service. Still today, the Pontifical Swiss Guards constitutes the oldest military corps in the world, having been founded by Pope Julius II in 1506. They are responsible for keeping watch over the entrances to the Vatican and the Apostolic Palace, carrying out police and representative duties during papal ceremonies and state receptions, and also protecting the College of Cardinals during a sede vacante period. In Rome, Andreas Tannhauser, EWTN News Nightly.
We thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Tracy Sabol. Good night and God bless.